Damn. Yuri got outplayed so bad, dude. Yuri just got dunked on. Rashio just came in the very end and said, sit down, boy. But my gosh, dude, Rashio is literally the scariest Gnosia of the entire cast. If Rashio isn't frozen right off the bat and they end up being Gnosia, I'm scared because this dude is way too freaking smart. He's going to figure things out and he's going to know the perfect way of getting Yuri just completely dunked on. But yes, episode 6 of Gnosia, really solid episode. And I had a lot of fears coming into this episode because we sort of have this problem where there's too many characters. 12 cast members is a bit much. And I sort of had this fear where when you have that many characters, somebody says something and then you have to have literally 11 people respond to it. And it's like, it's way too much. But they really did a good job with this. Like, the writing was really solid because it managed to sort of keep this flow going down with Yuri sort of doing a process of elimination. He did a really good job with it, honestly. There was things that I was picking up on, that he was picking up on, and he really kind of went with them and built a foundation for really figuring this out. 3 Gnosia amongst 12 people, that is extremely complicated, but I think it does sort of help to have the engineer process, the doctor, the guardian angel. Having these 3 elements sort of does, break down segments of the group into 50-50s, and then you can kind of build off of that. It's a really smart little mechanic they have here that really is building in something interesting here. But yeah, overall, solid episode. Let's just get right into it. Opening up the episode with, yes, the appearance of Kendra Suda. I'm seeing Jonas. Kendra Suda's in the cast, and my gosh, the entire episode, he's melting my ears. Granted, like, the later part of the episode, it didn't seem like he was much in the show itself, but I hope we get more. I want to get a Gnosia Jonas because I want to hear that, twisted version of his voice. But yeah, Kendra Suda totally melted my ears. And I love it because the whole beginning segment is literally him saying something that nobody else will get away with. But because it's Kendra Suda, he can say it and all the women will fawn over him. He's like, this is Kokusha, as she never talks. She's the most perfect, beautiful thing because, as the sage once said, ideal women do not speak. And it's like, literally every woman hearing that's going, oh. But any other guy says that. If I said that, I would be canceled. It works for him, though. Very interesting character. Just kind of playing him out that he is the captain of the ship, that he has taken control of it. But it does seem like as they go to the meetings, he gives up really quickly. Like, he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He lets the crew itself, the people that are on board, take over. He doesn't really have much to do with it. And they got to get a little bit later on the idea that apparently Stella was sent as a battle maid by the government in order to be with him. And it sort of gives like a sense of her like being there to protect him, but in actuality, based on what the ship says, that yes, this is a guy that used to be a hero in exploration, but at some point he became like a drifter, and the government is supposedly watching him, potentially. I don't know. It's one of those things where there's like 2 elements of this, where it's like, one, how many times have you heard stories about the government taking somebody that who is deemed as a hero and now claiming them to be insane? Yeah, and it not actually be true. Like, they just want to have control over them, or they find them to be a threat. And the other hand is, do we want to trust the ship? The ship just randomly pops up and says, Yuri, don't listen to what he says because he was deemed crazy. And it's like, ship, shut up. Like, why would the ship just suddenly... Like, the ship has never said anything about anybody. The ship has never gone out of its way to say, hey, Yuri, just so you know, Gina was actually a part of this group. Oh, by the way, Yuri, just so you know, Yuriko used to be from a drifting ship. Yuri had to go to the ship or the databases to find information about people. The ship has never gone out of its way to tell him something particularly defaming. So it does make me like, yeah, I already don't trust Levy. Let's be honest. I already don't trust her. And now she's going out of her way to say something about Jonas. I wonder. I really wonder. He is the captain of the ship, and so that would be probably why the ship would know things about him, but it's still like, it's super sus. It's super sus. But anyways, back to the beginning. He's there with Kokusha. It seems like, again, later on we find out this ship is a lot more staffed and has a lot more people in it, or at least refugees, because they got the sound or the signal early, and they were able to get a lot of people on the ship. And I'm guessing Kokusha is just a girl that he found and brought on the ship as well, because it does seem like she's very much attached to him, or at least following him around. And it's getting into some whole thing where he's like, this is a beauty, and isn't it? She's too bright for a middle-aged man like me. Don't you pity me? Like, almost like he finds her to be like the perfect beauty because she doesn't speak much and she's very beautiful. But at the same time, he's too old. Like, this is, obviously, again, this is a person that's much younger than me, but I still find her to be a beauty. So it was an interesting little thing there. Very interesting little introduction there. But yes, we go to the first meeting again. We find out that there's 12 total people, including Yuri, and that we have one doctor, one engineer, and one guardian angel. And yes, just like always, 2 people speak up for both of the positions of engineer and doctor, but nobody speaks up about guardian angel. And we find out that Yuri is actually the guardian angel. Now, again, I find this to be very fascinating because even though we do have 12 people in there right now, it is nice to sort of have this breakdown of, there's 2 engineers, there are 2 doctors. Well, one of them's got to be lying on both ends there, so that at least alleviates that. It brings up the question mark that we had previously where, yes, they can technically vote for somebody within that bubble, but then there's a 50% chance they lose something that is very critical for their process. So it sort of does push them to want to vote outside of that, but then they have like a 1 in 8 chance to really kind of catch somebody outside of that bubble. So it's that whole conundrum again. But yes, we find out that Yuri is the guardian angel. It is interesting at this point that they are not even questioning about doctors or engineers, but the guardian angels are like suddenly like, wait, what is a guardian angel? But it's like, but you know what a doctor and an engineer is? There is a little bit of a suspension of disbelief here where it's like, this is supposed to be the first meeting, but everybody understands all these other mechanics, but not this, even though these are mechanics within this little game they're playing? Question mark? Anyways. But yes, I find out that the guardian angel is somebody that's able to protect somebody during a warp. But yes, as I kind of realized very quickly, that means that the person themselves can't protect themselves. They can only protect one other person. So this is a cool thing here because as we find out later on, as he goes and actually does the process, he can sort of use this as a method of figuring out who within these 4 individuals where, half of them are lying about engineers and doctors, he can find out essentially who is the real ones using this method. And then upon confirming that, he can then essentially protect an engineer as they take out everybody, protect a doctor as they figure out everything. It's a really cool system that, again, technically nobody wants to admit to because that's who the Gnosia is going to go after. So yes, initially when they're all like, well, who's the guardian angel? Shigemichi, yes, when he asks, I'm like, yeah, you're totally going to be totally being a Gnosia because you're like questioning why this is a bad thing. Why don't you guys just bring up who's the guardian angel so I can kill you? But again, I kind of thought that Rashio wasn't going to be a Gnosia right here because he does explain the process, and you would think that somebody that is a Gnosia wouldn't want to explain that. But again, as we find out, they're both Gnosia, so they can easily be working together to create a confusion. But yes, to wrap up this first meeting, we do have Stella ends up stepping forward to sacrifice herself. Figuring that she's not an engineer or doctor or guardian angel and that she is human, she's like, I'll just sacrifice myself. That way you guys don't risk who is going to be frozen. Which, very bold. And I kind of wonder if this is in fact going to be the confirmation that Stella is going to be somebody that is sent to protect Jonas, or at least to be a guard for him. Because why else would she sacrifice herself? Again, it's not a sacrifice. It is going to cold sleep. But again, that is a danger in that. And if she is frozen, she can't protect Jonas. So I kind of wonder if this is in fact a way of protecting him because it gives them a little bit of a leg up to figure out who the Gnosia is and in effect protect Jonas. If she was sent there because he's insane, no, why would she freeze herself? I have to admit though, after Jonas makes that comment about burning Kukushka's beauty into his eyes because he might not wake up the next morning, and then Kukushka looks over to Yuri, I'm like, that you're trying too hard. No, you're trying too hard to make her look sus. She has this little look looking over there as she's being hailed by Jonas. It did kind of give me a little creepy sense there. Like, if it's not her looking over to be like this Gnosia that's keeping an eye on him, that she's uncomfortable with Jonas and she's going along with it. But anyways, it implies later on that she was probably looking at Yuri because she wants him to believe her, that she is in fact an engineer. Anyways, yes, we have Yuri go through the process of trying to figure out who he's going to guardian angel, which I did think was a very interesting idea here because he does sort of want to go for the easy. Like, okay, well, I could protect somebody that was within, the group of engineers and doctors, but then that wouldn't alleviate too much because the assumption is that they're going to go after one of the engineers or doctors, which I think is honestly sort of a bad way of thinking. I know that Yuri's not really going this mindset, but I immediately went that mindset of well, let them hash it out because then whoever dies within those 2 groupings, you'll know the other one's going to be the Gnosia. It's an easy way to figure that out. But I think he sort of figures out that, yeah, they're probably going to go after the others because that would take that blame away from them because this is the obvious. It is a struggle that Yuri has about whether to go with the simple or to really think it through, which he does end up doing that. He sort of did see the same thing I did. The way that Comet came out there and said, "Oh, I'm one too," it was like, yeah, you're totally Gnosia. Like just the way that she said that just sounded so off. It just sounded so off. But yes, he chooses to protect Kukusha. She ends up surviving, which pretty much proves they were going after Kukusha. Now, this is interesting because I never really got the impression before this episode that the Gnosia during the warp, only one person can die. Even though there's 3 Gnosia right now, only one human can die. So it's like all the Gnosia like choose to kill one person. Like they all 3 can't go attack somebody simultaneously. It's a little weird, but at the same time, it makes sense because in a game mechanic kind of system here, which, let's be honest, I really do feel like this entire thing is just a simulation game being played by this ship. In a gamey sort of way, this makes sense because otherwise within 2 meetings, they're dead. Because every time they warp, 3 people are going to die unless a Gnosia gets frozen. And thus, after 2 warps, they're done. The Gnosia can take them over. But like I said earlier, this is a really good segment right here because I do think that Yuri is doing a good job of the process of elimination. Because it's now pretty much confirmed that Kukushka is human. Now Kukushka is saying that Yuriko is human, thus alleviates Yuriko being a Gnosia. And then thus, whatever Yuriko says pretty much alleviates something else. And then the other individual claiming to be a doctor is going to be a Gnosia. So at that point, we know in fact that Shikimichi is going to be a Gnosia. Like I said before, it's a cool little process of elimination. You confirm one person, that confirms another person. It's a domino effect. But things were going too well. Things were going too well. I was pretty much sure at this point that we're going to have somebody have to call up that they are the guardian angel. And they're figuring out the same things that he is, just in a different way. But no, Comet turns to Yuri and says, "You're a Gnosia." I was like, okay, that's a good way of doing this, because now Yuri has to literally push the blame off himself, which he does a good job of, just kind of keeping calm, trying to suss out, why would you even check me? Like, of all the stuff that's going on right now, you have 2 engineers, 2 doctors, there's this big fight happening. Why would you come after me? It's a good question mark there. And then, in effect, pretty much throw it back onto Comet. The idea of going, okay, well, everybody, vote one of the 2 of us, freeze one of the 2 of us, whoever you guys choose, and you'll possibly take out a Gnosia. Now, it is interesting because, yes, right here, pretty much I think it was Rashio, again, more sus to him, brings up the fact that, well, if you do that, you're in trouble more than anybody else because she's possibly an engineer. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But because Yuri keeps himself calm and doesn't freak out like Comet is, it does help him to sort of be less sus than Comet. But that brings us to deciding the next person that he's going to Guardian Angel, and before he even sets that up, Kukushka comes to visit him. I'm kind of wondering why she chose specifically to come to him at that point. We do find out that, yes, she wants him to trust her, but I am kind of curious as to why, out of everybody, she wants to gain his approval. Maybe that's simply because Yuri came to her and Jonas at some point and showed some sort of interest in them, or at least made some sort of connection with him. But either way, yes, he's like, oh, you want me to trust you? I already trust you because I'm the guardian angel. I protected you and I'll protect you again. Just focus on finding Gnosia. I was like, dang, Yuri trying to throw in that, at Riz. He's trying to swoon her over, taking a couple tips from Jonas over here. I was like, dang, dude, saying that to a girl like that, so that's a bit much, dude. I'm your guardian angel. I protect you. I'll always protect you. Doki doki. But yes, we find out that Rashio is listening in, pretty much confirming at this point that Rashio is in fact the other Gnosia. And yes, pretty much destroys him in the next meeting. I do sort of feel bad for Yuri because at the same time, I do agree with him trying to keep it a secret, because him just coming out and just laying it all out is just going to put a massive amount of suspicion upon him. He could basically just lay out his entire thinking process. But again, he only has 3 individuals that he's really working with, so it would look just as bad. Rashio does that. The moment that Rashio steps up as a Gnosia and says, I am the guardian angel, he literally lays out the same process as Yuri. Thus, if Yuri tries to say the same thing, he looks suspicious. That's literally what the Gnosia did. The Gnosia knew exactly what Yuri was doing, laid out his entire process, did it with confidence, and again, didn't falter afterwards, and thus everybody throws all the suspicion upon Yuri. It's that easy, that simple that he was able to control that situation. Very interesting. Very interesting way to kind of throw it in his face. I thought, again, it was a dunk. He just got bad dunked on. It is kind of odd, though, that at least Kukusha didn't, like, step up, maybe kind of nudge at Jonas and say, no, he's, just point at him and say, shake head, he's a good person or something like that. Like, she could have signed something to Jonas, and that would at least given them, like, 3 votes that are not on Yuri. But for the Gnosia to win in the situation, they only need, like, an extra person as well. Because Chippie seemed to think it was Yuri. You would have Shigemichi and Rashio, who are the Gnosia, voting against Yuri. And then throw in SQ and Gina. And that's pretty much, they got him tackled down. Versus Yuri, Jonas, and Kukushka voting the other way. Like, no matter what, Yuri screwed. Yuri has to win over Gina or Chippie or SQ. One of those 3 in order to keep himself from being frozen. But it was interesting, though, because this is finally the moment that we actually get Yuri get frozen, because I was very curious about what would happen in that situation. But it makes sense because, again, it's a set time that he's actually resetting in. It's not his actual death or failure that's actually resetting it. I think the biggest mess up for Yuri in this situation is the fact that he speaks on things that are not confirmed yet. He himself can confirm things because of the position that he's in as the guardian angel. But he ended up blurting out something that nobody else has confirmed. The idea that, oh, Yuriko's fine because Kukushka said that. And we know that Kukushka is the engineer. Wait, hold on. We don't know that for sure. We don't know that Comet is for sure not a Gnosia because they've had 2 different people say 2 different things. So there's no confirmation that's been done yet. And yet he's speaking on that as a truth. And then Rashio, like I said, pretty much following that up with doing his entire process in front of everybody. I'm the guardian angel and I did this. But anyways, yes, Yuri gets frozen, wakes up in front of a dolphin. We got a dolphin now. It's not too much of a shock after Shigemichi. I'm sorry. Like, the body modifications that are happening in this series are crazy. And again, technically Chippie wants to become a cat, so I wouldn't doubt that somebody had their body turn into a dolphin. Anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 6. Looking forward to more Jonas. Again, I'm hoping for a Jonas Gnosia at some point. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and want to support more, become a member of the channel. Until next time, you'll take care.